the only time I can remember in my entire life that I couldn't ask more questions. It was this ending. It was this peace and calm of welcome back to one's journey of unwinding the mind and, of course, your daily microdose. Now tune in to the latest episode of One's Journey. Today I want to talk about curiosity, but I want to talk about it a little different. I want to tell you a story. This week I reconnected with a friend that I found about 2 years ago to be very influential in my life, and I greatly looked up to and had grand respect for this person, but also placed this person on a pedestal much higher than myself. Well, in this conversation, our paths are similar but different, of course, like many. This person is very much where I was about a year ago, and really our conversation helped me to realize how simple it is once you have found truth, and how chaotic it still is when you have yet to find truth. And one of the parting things I left this friend with, which I want to say too, talking to this friend was very difficult at the beginning to keep myself in check with the ego. This friend is very much in the movement of higher consciousness. I have a grand purpose to save the world. Very much what would be categorized as the New Age movement. And there is nothing wrong with that. But I was deeply ingrained in that once myself. And the shift from that to understanding how simple it is was very hard for me. A lot of anger came about, a lot of resentment. You mean I'm not here to make a better illusion. Like, just a lot of victim thoughts came up in that process. So in this process, it's very easy for me, at least, to slide into my way of thinking is the only way of thinking. Your way of thinking is not the good way of thinking. And I know early on in some of my videos, I may have even alluded to this not being a good way of thinking. And by no means am I saying the New Age movement is not good or is it bad. What I'm saying is, for me, and when I look at this about realizing I'm the dreamer of the dream and no longer placing weight on the illusion, my interpretation of the New Age movement would be that it's very much placing weight on the illusion, and it's very much diving deeper into the ego and the need for a better illusion. Okay, with that said, I had to ask the Holy Spirit for guidance constantly. I mean, I'm always asking the Holy Spirit for guidance throughout my day, but this was so intentional. This was really stopping as this person was speaking and being like, please give me guidance to share what it is that I meant to share as a vessel for you, and not to bring the ego in and not to try to push my beliefs on this person. And one of the things I did say that I really felt came from Spirit was, don't ever stop getting curious, my friend. And the reason why I brought that up is in that conversation, it was the first moment I had really reflected on my journey to a deeper level of understanding, and my journey to the gate of beginning to unwind my mind, the untying from the ego, and how it led me there, and why I constantly tell people to get curious. Because curiosity is what got me there. If I wouldn't have continued to ask questions, I would have never found my way there. And why do I say that? So I had found myself in organized religion at a period in my life, but it didn't make sense. I continued to ask questions because I was being told that we have this God that loves us unconditionally, but here is a list of conditions that if you break, you are not worthy of the love of God. To me, that didn't make sense. I continued to ask questions like, how could God be unconditional but have this list of conditions? Then I had grand faith. I believe there is a God that loves us unconditionally, but what I was learning in organized religion was not quite adding up to that. Okay, keep getting curious, keep doing my own research, keep asking questions. And then I came into conversations with God and really started to see like, oh shit, I am God. And I'm here to experience myself. And I really went deep into that and really believing like, oh my gosh, this is such an experience. Like, how cool is it for me to be God? And I wanted to experience. But that still didn't make sense to me. I'm like, okay, if God is unconditional love, why would he ever want to experience pain and suffering and death and separation? Like, as much as people say that that's just a part of an experience someone would want, I wasn't taking that. I wasn't buying that. It still didn't feel right. So I continued to get curious. I continued to ask questions. And then when I came across The Disappearance of the Universe and listened to that book, in that moment, I had all of these questions. I was kind of at this crossroads of, oh my gosh, I am not a little God. Jesus exists, but Jesus doesn't exist in the manner in which I've been taught for religion. And I was just like in this super confused place, but it was like I had tiny bits to the puzzle, but no clue what the puzzle was supposed to look like and no clue what piece fit where. And I didn't even have the ability to try to fit it. And I called my mentor and I'm in this space of like, I'm lost. My back is against the wall and I'm like, there's got to be another way. And there's this book I've been digesting and I haven't fully digested it myself, so I haven't shared it with you, but I think it holds a lot of answers to your questions. And literally The Disappearance of the Universe, and then it leading me further to Ken Wapnick and A Course in Miracles, was the only time I can remember in my entire life that I couldn't ask more questions. Like, it was this ending. It was this peace and calm of maybe there is more questions that can be asked, but it was like this no longer need to ask, this fulfilled place inside. And I know as well as you know that there is thousands of ways to get there. A Course in Miracles is just one way. Gary Renard's teachings and Ken Wapnick's are just one way. But it will tell you this. If I did not get curious, I wouldn't have found my way to the way that is meant for me. And that's what I left my friend with, was just promise me, you will never stop getting curious until literally you can't. Until literally you're like, I ain't got nothing, right? I ain't got nothing. Because his journey may not be the Course in Miracles. His journey may be the Bible, maybe something, maybe Hinduism, maybe Buddhism, maybe something completely different. But I promise you, my friend, if you do not continue to get curious and you settle, then you won't find your way in this lifetime. So get curious. That's what, when I talk about getting curious, it's not just to rip everything apart and to constantly have to ask questions. The reason why I tell you this is because curiosity is the only way to get to truth. And you only know you're at truth when you no longer have any more questions to ask, when questions no longer make sense. And that's how I found myself. So today, this video is kind of just a glimpse into how I knew the Course and unwinding my mind and untying myself from the ego in this manner was meant to be my journey, and how you know when you have found your journey. When the questions no longer, like, you just know. It just is. My favorite statement, it just is. But then also in this video, we covered when we're talking with other people who are on a different journey, our job isn't to tell them that their journey is wrong, because literally we don't know. Only the Holy Spirit knows that. Only their highest self. And if we tell them they're on the wrong path, we have judged. Then we are coming from the place of the ego. We know that we can only be from the place of spirit and love if we're just accepting of where everybody is at. And trust me, it can be very difficult, especially when you have past ties to it. So give yourself grace in the process and just continue to hand over to the Holy Spirit or your highest self and ask for guidance. Thank you so much for tuning in today, my friends. Remember, curiosity is like your superpower. It is one of the most beautiful, intentional tools you have in your tool belt that literally will get you to truth if you use it. And don't stop using it until you know you are there. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Please comment below. What are your thoughts? Have you ran into experiences like this? And as always, remember you are worth it. So much love. Bye-bye.